Welcome to the Purpose Driven Mom Show, episode 382. Today, I am having a conversation with Shannon Davis from Thrive Remotely, all about how do we get over the big struggles that come on our plates as a work-at-home mom, right? Things like isolation, not having any sort of community, communicating our boundaries, right? We talk about one of my biggest struggles is just trying to explain to people, like maybe defend a little bit of how I spend my time and what I'm actually doing. And I don't think people do it intentionally to be mean or negative, but it's a lot of misunderstanding, right? Like people don't get what I do. They don't understand what it's like for me in this office. They're like, you actually make money? What are you doing? And then why can't you go meet for coffee or things like that? And how we can talk to our kids about our business so that they can get a little bit more on board with us. You're going to want to check out her Happy Home Office subscription boxes. They're super cute and you can get them sent to you every month, buy them once a month. You don't have to subscribe completely if you just want the 1 month one. And you can get these boxes to help you set up your office space. They come with mini challenges. And coming this January, Shannon and I are pairing up together to make a purpose-driven mom box, which will have a copy of the book along with some other really great things to just set your productivity and your office space up for success. If you want to check out any of the show notes and learn more about Shannon, go to purposedrivenmom.com. So it's podcast 382. Now you can tune into our conversation all about just the general struggles being a work-at-home mom. Welcome to the Purpose Driven Mom Show, episode 382. I am here today talking all about the struggles of being a work-at-home mom with Shannon Davis, and we're going to give you some incredible tips to hopefully help you just feel a little bit less stressed, more in control of your time, and more where you can take care of yourself as well as being the CEO of your business / your home / your family and all those things in between. So Shannon, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Before we jump in, could you tell us a little bit about you and your family?
So I am a boy mom. I have Luke and Levi who are 13 and just turned 13. I'm not used to saying that. And my 10-year-old's getting ready to turn 11. I'm not used to saying that either. And then I am getting ready to blend my family and have a stepson who's 14 and a stepdaughter that's 21. We have a dog, a cat. We're just, one likes to drum, one likes, to play basketball. So we're just always busy doing things.
Yes. And from this airing, you will have been officially a newlywed, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
So as of right now, in 2 weeks, I'm getting married and I got it right this time.
That's exciting. Okay. Well, congratulations on that. We were actually just having the conversation before we got on of like new last names, versus like which one to use. So this will be the first Shannon Davis. I feel like that is out there officially.
I know. I like it.
Awesome. We're going to talk about being a work-at-home mom, and I want to hear a little bit of your origin story. I always like to share because we have so many moms that listen who are thinking of starting their own business or have already started it and are trying to make it work. So can you tell us a little bit about your story when it comes to your business?
Yeah, so I went through a period of time where I was really struggling. And I realized that a lot of it originated from the challenges of working from home, staying at home, never leaving, feeling isolated, and then, trying to draw those clear boundary lines between work and home, having no synergy around, just having relationships with people through screens. And, that takes a toll. And, I love working from home. I love it. I love the flexibility it gives me. But, sometimes it can be really challenging. And so it just got me thinking, there's so many people that work from home and there's so many moms that are also trying to juggle it all, trying to keep the energy that they need to stay focused and be the best that they can for work and home. And so I just try to think of, how can I bring us together and how can I, have us support each other? And so that's kind of where it came from.
That's awesome. And you touched on a lot of the struggles. That was actually going to be what we started with, like, what are the main struggles? But I mean, you hit them, right? The boundaries, the isolation. I feel like working from home is more challenging than most people realize. I'll have people who say, oh, that's so nice. Like you could, do your errands or whatever during the day.
Must be nice, like we just have it made. And we do in some ways, but we don't always. It's not always easy.
Yeah, I think about that too. I am so thankful and grateful that I've been able to create this business. So like my kids have their Halloween party next week. I can go do this. If I want to have coffee with a friend, I can move my schedule around to do that. But at the same time, I was just telling my husband, he's working from home these past 2 days. And I was saying, this is the hardest part of it though, is I see the dishes and then I see the
I
laundry and then I
know.
want to pause and I want to do that. And then I have people this morning, a friend was like, hey, when can we meet up for coffee? And I want to do these things, but then I'm like, and I have to work. And he had actually said to me yesterday, you should go to Starbucks or something. And I was like, I typically work here at my desk because I do a lot of coaching. I'm on calls like this, but I realized how I haven't changed my environment in a while. And that's so helpful to just like get
It
out of my
is.
space, because especially when I'm feeling unmotivated. So I think it's not, I'm not going to say it's like the hardest thing to do, but I think there's a level of challenges that people don't actually realize because they think, oh,
Yeah.
this looks really cushy. And I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
like I'm never going back to the classroom. Like it's pretty cushy. I really like it, right?
Yeah.
But there are issues that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to
Right.
working from home, because I feel like, especially as working from home moms, I feel like I am taking on the role of, I am a full-time mom slash homemaker slash CEO of the home, right? Is the phrase I like to use.
Right.
And I'm full-time running my business. And that's two full-time jobs at
Right.
once.
And whether you're a mompreneur or you work for a company, you have those same struggles. And like summer, for example, when the kids are home, you add on the mom guilt on top of it. And that was something that I struggled with. I couldn't wait for school to start because I was tired of the mom guilt of, no, I have to work. I can't play with you,
Yeah.
and it's not easy, but yeah, doing those things like getting out of the house and working on different strategies and things to make your routines more routine. Anything that you can do that constantly improve on yourself, I think helps. And that's why I thought of including the challenges in these boxes so that we're always working on different things that can make us better and happier.
Well, tell us a little bit of the boxes. You like skimmed it. You didn't tell us the full thing.
So the Happy Home Office box is a box that I curate specifically for work from home moms. And it has items in it. Each box has a theme. October's theme, for example, was fall in love with your office. And it was all about, fallifying your office. It included things like a beautiful fall mouse pad and inspirational cards and a fall candle and a fall fun pen, different things like that. But then the challenge was working on your space and organizing your space and making sure that you feel good in the space that you're working in. So each month, and I'm trying to find subject matter experts like yourself to work with, so that each month we have something that we're working on to make sure that we're doing our best to be our best. And November, for example, the theme for November's box is going to be thankful and thriving, or thriving and thankful. And it's all about being grateful for things and practicing gratitude to, I guess, improve our overall happiness and attitude. But then also it includes a book, which I have somewhere, Remote Ink, which I've already shown. So, I give different tips and tricks that, the book spells out, and strategies that you can use so that you can thrive from home. So the challenge that month includes, using a gratitude journal to, keep gratitude at front of mind every day, and then to use the tools and strategies that apply to you from the book to thrive from home. So it's just different things like that. And I'm working on partnering with different people to include different things in the boxes, and yeah. So my goal is to bring ideas, inspiration, a sense of community, to women that are working from home. Because back when I was struggling, I would have loved to have something like this. It would have made a world of difference. But even if you're not struggling, having that sense of community and then getting a box of just things that make you happy, every month it's fun stuff. So
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about it, it made me think not so much like workplace culture, but like there's such a difference when you're home, and you're by yourself, like to have a little setup and a thing that makes my office space feel, and for many of us, like our office space might be our kitchen table. Some people have a rolling cart, some
yeah,
people have a desk, like, but to make it feel like I'm at work. Because I think that is one of the big struggles that I notice with the moms I work with is, if they're working at the kitchen table, but the kids here and this here, it doesn't like give them that like I need to focus work environment. But this I think allows it to feel like a nice space. Do you have any other tips for
right.
like setting up a home space that feels I don't, the word I'm thinking is like cozy, but like it feels like
Well,
welcoming and
Well, I'm really big on aromatherapy. So I have two boxes. I have the Happy Home Office box, and every month it's going to include some kind of aromatherapy in it. And then I have the Sensational box, which is everything that's in the Happy Home Office box, plus, which I'm burning right now, and a 8-ounce soy candle. And each month I have a scent of the month. This one's Autumn Harvest. So this was the October scent of the month. And I just feel like lighting a candle and or doing something, it just transforms your space. So I'm really big into that, and I try to include something aromatherapy like in every box, on top of the, seasonal desk decor and office supplies and stuff. So that's one of my favorite things, I guess.
do you have any tips for, say, the mom listening? I know a lot of them, like they don't have a space, right? They're just working
Yeah.
where they can find space in a bedroom, at a table. How can we turn that challenge of I don't have my own workspace, but like I need a workspace? How can we flip that a little bit to make it feel better for those moms at home?
Well, I think even if you don't have a space when you are working, if there are things you can do to transform the space when you're working. So if you're working at, a table or something, clearing the table. I used to work from my dining room table. We bought this house a year ago and I have an office and it's been great. But I used to work at my dining room table and I would clear the table and I would, set my stuff up for the day before I even got started and kind of transform it for the day. And then I just transform it back. So that's what I unfortunately had to do, but I just did my best with what I had. So that's, I guess, the only tip I got for that.
Yeah, I think too, one of the things I struggle with is, so this is my office slash our craft room slash our gym. Okay. So it is a
Uh-huh.
communally shared space, except my kids are traditionally at school or at a traditional school. So they got traditional school hours. My husband, he's only working from home because he's injured right now. So normally I have the place to myself and it's really nice. But
Yeah.
I'm looking right now at the crafts my kids didn't put away. I'm looking, I was just telling you before, my microphone arm is broke because my kid was hanging on it. Right. And so this is such a struggle of, and it goes back to one of the challenges you had brought up in the beginning is that boundaries piece. So I wanted to talk about boundaries in two ways because I know
Okay.
the moms are struggling. And the first one is like just at home, right? You mentioned you've got preteens, now teens,
I
in your
know.
house, right? You've got that space. Are there any things we can do to better create boundaries when we are working? Because, you said, hey, you worked at your dining room table. I was just on a call this morning with a mom and she's got two small ones who were like, tug, tug, tug. Hey, mommy, as soon as the laptop pulls open. So do you have any boundary
Yeah.
tips that can help us?
Um, I don't know, and I'm going to do my best, but I feel like I'm not the subject matter expert. I'm the one that needs the help too. And so I'm going to do all these challenges with everybody, but
Yeah.
I will give you my answers. So what I do with that, like when I'm having a Zoom call or doing a video or something, I text my kids and let them know, hey, I'm doing this. So they're aware, I need the house to be quiet. And then they know the times that I work, and I try to teach them that when I'm at work, and my kids are a little older, so it's a little bit easier. For people that have younger kids, oh, I, I don't know. I feel for you because I know it's hard. But I remember just trying to keep my kids busy. So when I was working, I gave them something to work on, and I think that helped a lot then too.
Yeah. When I was talking to this mom this morning, I was saying how, like, when I started my business, my kids were super tiny and home, right? And then they were at part-time preschool and now school, right? So we've kind of transitioned out of that. And I'd forgotten a little bit of what it's like, to have somebody hanging on you. But I think part of it actually ties back to creating a space for yourself that when you're in it, you're like, this is my workspace. So even if you're doing the nap time grind or going to, working when they go
Right.
to bed or whatever it is, knowing like, hey, I've created this like little haven for myself, and now like I get the chance, not that I have to go to work. I think it's really how we speak to ourselves, right? Like I get the chance now to sit in my office by myself and get a couple things done,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that helps reframe it a little bit because there's so many days like I'm very driven, right? But like I'm not motivated. Like I'm not a motivated person. I'm driven. If I want to do something, I'll work on it. But I like to go read my book and watch TV. And like I don't always want to do,
Yeah.
right? So I
Well,
think, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, sorry. There's days when, you're killing it. You're doing all the right things, and you're getting all your stuff done. And then there's days when it's like, ugh, you know, you know, and so on those days you just need a little extra help. But you just mentioned something. You said something about us doing something for ourselves, and it just made me think of another thing, that I thought of when I created, the Happy Home Office box was, people were like, well, there's men at home too that work from home, and I was like, yeah, but women are the ones that really, do the juggle struggle. And then I thought more, and I'm like, well, it's really the moms. And so I narrowed it down, and I'm like, no, this is who I'm talking to, because, we make the kids' doctor's appointments, and we make dinner, and we make deadlines, but what we don't do is make time for ourselves. And so that's a big piece of this box too, is the self-care aspect of it, and making sure that you're doing something for yourself and to take care of yourself each month, because we're not on our to-do list a lot of times. And if we are, we're at the bottom. So that's kind of part of what this box is about too.
And I think that ties back into the mom guilt you'd mentioned in the beginning. Right. We have the guilt that we're not doing enough for our kids. And then there's the guilt when we do something for ourselves because it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't jive for us. So I'm wondering what advice we can give those moms who might be struggling with this guilt of like, I know I need to do something for myself, but here's my to-do list. Here's all the people who need me. I can't even think about me.
Well, yeah, and that's where I think a subscription box helps, because you subscribe and you don't have to think about it every month. It comes to your door, I mean, seriously, it takes it off of your to-do list. And every month you're delivered these self-care items, these inspirational items, inspirational word art, this, aromatherapy items, challenges, and a sense of community and, going over. I mean, I'm going to do, like I said, these challenges with everybody. So we're going to be talking about it on social media, and hey, what are you doing? I'm doing this, and so people don't have to feel like they're on islands in their home offices or at their dining room tables all by themselves doing all of this.
Do you have any recommendations on like where people can reach out to like find community so they do feel less isolated? Because depending on what your work from home job is, right? Like you have Slack you're checking in with, and you've got your team, and you've got people you work for. But for so many of us, I feel like we're just sitting here staring at the four walls, barely
Yeah.
talking to a grown up. Like I feel bad for like the first grown up I talked to of the day because I'm like word vomiting everything all over them, right?
The first thing that comes to mind is, your field. So whatever field you work in, there's a lot of times there's different groups on Facebook or and things like that that you can find. I belong to a group of subscription box owners, and so I think a lot of times you can find groups within your field that relate to not only being work at home mom, but what you do for a living. So they can relate to that too.
Yeah, I think that connection's important because a lot of us like we're sitting on these islands of nobody gets me, like nobody gets what I'm doing, nobody gets what I'm saying. And I think what's
Yeah.
also one of the most important things I had to realize was I love my husband. He is super supportive. He does not care about what I'm doing at home, right? Like I make money, it's cool. This is my business. He'll listen to it. He's happy for me. He likes my goals, but I'm talking jargon at him and I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to explain my day. And it's like, cool. Just like when he explains his day, I'm like, cool, right? Like I know what you do sort of, but I don't care
Yeah.
as much. And realizing and understanding that like the people that are actually closest to us in our real lives might not care about our jobs and our goals as much as we do because they're ours. And switching around to find people that are in similar fields, find people that care about it and understand what you're saying. I think it allows us to feel less lonely and then
Yeah.
more inspired. And for me, it allows me to also create better boundaries because I'm like, my husband lost my days. It's good, right? I don't need to tell him every nitty gritty of it. So I know that I have that space where I'm not just work, 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 work all the time. I at 3 o'clock, I pick up my kids and I put on my mom hat and I'm Cara. And I'm not. And,
Yeah.
it's so funny because I've talked to a few people. Last year I coached a competitive cheer, right? And so I was like with my assistant coaches and we were getting some stuff together. And I was like breaking down the practices and like, well, if we have this many 8 counts divided by this many practices, whatever, like what I do for my job. And I said that. I was like, I mean, this is like how I coach people to break their goals down. And she was like, what do you do? And I like
Yeah.
explained it to her.
I
And
need you in my life.
yeah, she was like, You wrote a book? And I was like, yes, because I compartmentalize, because I don't talk about it. And I don't know if that's the right or the wrong answer. Sometimes like I probably should talk about it more because I know people in my real life will support me. But at the same time, I like to be done work, and I don't, for so long, my work was my entire identity, right? I was a teacher for 10 years. That was who I was. I didn't know who I was
Right.
outside of that. So when I left the classroom, I struggled with like, what do I even like? Who am I? Like, what sort of, things do interest me? And then it became, now I have this business, and I realized, and then I was like all business, and that was all who I was. And I had to pause a couple years ago and say, like, my business is a part of my life, but it's not my life. And I think a lot of the
Yeah.
productivity space teaches that you need to fit your life around your work. That's like, society, right? Like that your work is supposed to be first and your family's supposed to fit in. And I just don't agree with that. I'm like, why think
Right.
that my life needs to come first, and the level of intensity I work at my job. And again, because I have my business, I can decide that. But I think that needs to come secondary, and allowing myself to say, these are my communities and my places where I Voxer with my team and where I talk. And then after 3 o'clock, not every day, but I would say most days, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to answer
Yeah.
Voxer until the morning. I'm not going to check my email till the morning. If I'm not, unless I really didn't have time to work, I'm not going to work at night because I don't want to do that anymore. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get
It
to
is
that point.
hard. Just last night, I needed to get an email out. I needed to get a couple more things done. And, I'm sitting in the living room with my laptop, and then my kid turns on the TV, and I'm like, oh no, and my fiance was working late. So it was just me and the boys. And they wanted to finish off Stranger Things because that's what we were watching. And, I just put it away. I was like, you know what? It can wait till tomorrow. And sometimes you just have to do that, because it's not going to be the end of the world if the email goes out today instead of yesterday. But your kid's going to remember you spending time with them. And so, a lot of times you just have to pick and choose. So I try my best to do that, but it's not easy.
Yeah. And I think it's allowing the pace to be okay. So I work with a lot of moms who are like kids still at home, tiny people, and they're trying to get it going. And I'm like, just let your pace be your pace, right? Like, I've gotten to the point now, 6 years in my business, like we have workflows and things move. And I would love to scale. I would love it to be bigger, but that's just not where I'm at right now. Because in order
Yeah.
for that to happen, something else is going to have to get sacrificed. And like I did that, right? Like I did that in those foundational years to kind of get it up and running. And then there are some times where I have to work at night, and I communicate that openly. So for people who are struggling, I communicate that with my kids. Mommy's got to
Yeah.
answer some emails right now for work. So I'm going to head in, and
Yeah.
I try to head into the office. Like if I'm going to work, and like our language in my house is open door versus closed door work. So if mommy's door is open, you can come in here, you can color on the floor, you can come sit with me. Like if I'm doing emails or something, if I'm doing a podcast interview, if mommy's door is closed, that means that like mommy's off limits for work. Like you
Yeah.
need to like, and again, my kids are a little bit older now, 6, almost 8, right? And 17. So like
I
they're
wish I had a
older.
door. I don't have a door. I have two open doorways.
Yeah. Well, you know what I've done too? Just a piece of paper for a while, where I was like, with my oldest in particular, because he like
Yeah.
won't process that, I'll be like, recording, don't open. And I'll just put a sign up. And I think that also allows them to know, like, hey, mommy's at work right now. Because I think this is the thing. I went away last weekend with my friends. And my daughter, we got home and she was like, Mommy, you're always going away. You're always going away. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, Daddy only goes to work. And I was like, but if I went to work, right, like
I
you would
know.
see that I was, but
And the
because
kids don't get that.
no, no. And I'll say to my kids, especially little ones, like, hey, what do you think mommy does? And they're like, you have a computer and you help people. Like that's what they think. And I mean, that is what I do, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, I think our kids struggle to understand it. I think our friends
Yeah.
struggle to understand it. And I think we struggle to understand that as well. Like just because I'm home during these are my work hours. So like
Right.
right now my sink is full of dishes. Cool.
Yeah.
My laundry needs
Yeah.
to be folded. Cool. But I will intentionally after 3 o'clock when that hat switches, that's when I do those things. And so for anyone
Yeah.
who's struggling with that boundary is like, I really think making whatever work quote hours, right? Because I know some of us we teach the 15 minutes formula for a reason, like doing it in the pockets of time. But if
Yeah.
that's when you're saying that's my work, communicating that, like sharing
Yeah.
that, and then asking like, hey, I need help. you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And something I do too, and I've done especially since I've started this business, is I've incorporated my kids.
Mm.
So they're helping me make the boxes and get, everything organized to start filling the boxes and things like that. So I think they like that they're a part of it, and I think that helps a little bit. Um, but yeah, I personally struggle with that because I have to go pick my youngest up because we moved out of his school district. So I wanted to keep him in that school. So we use my ex's address, and I have to drive him. And so, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I've got to stop working. I've got to go pick him up. I've got to come back. I've got to get him started on homework. I've got to start dinner, and then I've got to get back to work when I really want to hang out with my kid, but I've got to get back to work for a little while. But I've been better lately at drawing that line of, okay, it's 6:30. I should call it, or it's enough already. You need to switch gears. So yeah, I think having those boundaries is really important. And but it's always something we have to work on because it's so easy to slip back into, you know, just keeping at it,
Yeah.
or working really late or getting back to work, like I said. And that's a big thing with working from home is you can always work. You can work anytime. I think we put in a lot more hours than people realize too, because it's so easy for us to be like, I don't know a job that exists where you don't have too much to do
Right.
anymore. And so, yeah, just getting it all done. And then employers, they have that expectation. They're like, oh, well, Shannon's going to get it done, so we could just keep giving it to her.
Yeah. Well, the to-do list isn't going
Yeah.
to end. I think there's a couple like mindset shifts I had from like maybe like the third year in my business to where we're at now. But like one is like I'm never going to finish. Like there's always something that I can do. But
Yeah.
the other is the seasonality of it all. So I have seasons like when we start prepping for our summit in the spring, I tell my family, mommy's got a really big work project. That means I'm going to have to work some nights because I need to put extra hours in. Why don't we make some dates with just us so that I know we can have that time? And we talk about it. My husband knows
Yeah.
during summit season, like, I don't know, make dinner. Like, what are you eating? I got some cereal. Like, handle your business. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. And I think that communication, especially, I think we sometimes think that our kids are too little to understand, but I think just saying it to them and explaining it, especially like, my kids have said previously, like, oh, you're just always on your phone. And I don't want that. Like, I want to explain to them,
I
hey, mommy's
know.
got to
They don't
answer this work.
understand.
No, I got to answer this work email real quick. And yeah, my kids will be like, I want to go to the park. Right. And there has to be sometimes during those heavy seasons where I'm like, listen, we can't go to the park right now. But if you want to go play in the backyard, you guys can go play and I'll bring my laptop like all summer when my kids were home all summer or half the time
Yeah.
this summer. Right. I had them home 5 weeks at camp, 5 weeks. So the weeks that they were home, you want to go play by the pool? I got like a little shield, like a glare guard for my computer. We have a pool. I was like, yeah, if you guys want to go swim, I'll take you out there, but I have to work while we're out there. And saying
Yeah.
that to them, and that's okay. And I think the guilt comes when you try to do it all perfectly, not realizing it just needs to look different and not allowing yourself to say, like in this season, like the summer, for example, I'm working less because I'm choosing to work less because my kids are home, but I have to work. Like I still have to. So it
Right.
just needs to look different. So that means that when my kids are awake, like the non-negotiable quote unquotes that I have during the school year are not the ones that I have in the summer because I need to get the work done. And it's allowing that to change. It's allowing myself to say, okay, this isn't like ideal. I'd rather just go take my kids to the beach today, but you know what? We're going to go to the beach in 2 days because I'm going to get all my work done now so we can do that or
Yeah.
whatever it is for us.
And this is what we have to do as a family. And I think, when I finally said that to my kids and it clicked of, I have to work so that we can eat and have a house and do the, they finally got it of, oh yeah, I do want those things like food and toys and whatever. So mom's got to work. And I was like, and the only difference between me and your dad is I work from home. So you see me working, but I really can do a lot more things with you and I'm more flexible because I work from home. But, it's just easy for kids sometimes to see the negative part. We just got to do our best. We just got to do our best.
That's all we can do, honestly, right?
Yeah.
It's like we can do our best, set our own boundaries, create expectations, and it's not going to go perfectly. And the to-do list isn't going to end, but it doesn't mean that we're bad moms. It doesn't mean that we're failing. It means that we're literally doing our best. And I just think the communication piece is key because when you said that, like, kids, I feel least mine, they put like my husband on a pedestal, right? Like that is
Uh-huh.
daddy, right? And he's going to work and he's doing his thing. And it was was it this morning? This morning we were walking to school and we were struggling to get out the door because my rule in my home is like, I don't care if they have tech, but you need to, in the mornings, you need to have your breakfast, brush your teeth, and get dressed before you have tech, right? So like
Right.
we had gotten to the point where we had to just hide the remotes because they weren't doing it. And then I guess my husband like left the PlayStation remote. So whatever. So this morning I come down, they're doing video games. And didn't feel like fighting it. So I was like, just get it done what they have to do. But we're rushing to get out the house because they're all of a sudden my son wants second breakfast and all this. So the conversation became, I'm like, these are your responsibilities. Like you have to do things. Like, I don't care if you have the tech, but you need to do your responsibilities. And my daughter had the nerve to say to me, what are your responsibilities? What do you do? And I was like, what do you want to make it to school? I was livid. I was
Let
like,
me show you my Trello board.
and yes. So I start running through like lists of things. And I was like, well, these are all the things mommy does. And I stopped for a minute. I was like, do you want me to keep going? She's like, I'm sorry, mom. And I was like, yeah, okay, thank you. But
You get the point.
I think that our society has conditioned us to not value the work that moms do traditionally
Yeah.
in the home / at
I
work at all.
Yes. Well, and my fiance, for example, he's a deputy, and everybody knows that, our cops and our deputies and our teachers, they're not paid enough. And, it's a whole thing. But my kids didn't realize that, so, they thought that, he's the breadwinner. He's the, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, what do you think I do?
Yeah.
And they didn't get it. And I didn't explain that to him, but my oldest made a comment one day and I was like, he really thinks that the man, and I don't know if it's just like the perception of it or whatever, but I said, women can make money too.
Yeah. And I think this is where the conversation comes in. And I love what you said before about having, the boys help with the boxes and stuff like that, because I've had my kids help me with some work stuff. And I think it helps them understand because again, even adults, I can explain what I do, still do not understand. Like my mom will be like, what do you do? Like still do not understand what I do. Because when I was a teacher, it was cut and dry, right? This is what I
Yeah.
did. Right.
Well, it's the same thing with this business. People, the subscription box business, people didn't get it for the longest time. And I'm like, is my messaging not clear? Like, what do I need to do so that people understand? And I still, tweak it here and there because I just launched. So, I try to be clear, but yeah, people don't always get it. If it's not something that speaks to them, then
Yeah.
they just, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, people are like, you actually make money doing that? I'm like, yeah, it's like a real job. But I think I feel like our common thread that was like weaved through all of this is just like the communication piece with everybody can help. And I think it alleviates a lot of the pressure, because I think that's one of the biggest struggles for work at home moms is just the pressure to
Yeah.
do it all and show up perfectly. So what a fun conversation today,
Yeah.
Shannon.
Thank you.
I told
And
you in the beginning, all over the place. We were just going to hit everything.
And when your kids understand what you're doing too, like my oldest not long ago, he said, "I'm proud of you, mom." And I was just like, "Oh,
I love it.
so that's great too." But yes, I could talk to you all day long.
I know this is super fun. So listen, we're going to put show notes over at a purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 382, but can you tell everyone where they can connect with you and maybe grab their own box?
Yes. So thriveremotelybox.com is my website where you can subscribe. I'm also on Facebook at Thrive Remotely and on Instagram at Happy Home Office Box.
Awesome. And Shannon and I are in the works of coming up with a purpose driven mom box for the new year. So you should
Yes.
definitely go check out one of the boxes now. And then, if you're over on our list, you'll definitely get in the know when it comes out. So Shannon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.